Marhaban. Hello, my name is Ian Campbell, and this is the fifth in a series of videos intended to teach you the Arabic alphabet and sound system and to prepare you to understand how to learn vocabulary words. In this lesson, we're going to learn two more letters of the alphabet, dal and thal, and two non-alphabetic characters called sukun and ta marbuta. So let's get straight to it by taking a look at the letter dal first. So dal is the eighth letter of the alphabet. It's a non-connecting letter, which means it does not connect to the next letter. It makes English D, but like ta, which doesn't make the puff of air as in English, ta, 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 not ta, ta, ta. Dal is going to be the same way. It's da, 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 not da, 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 like that with the puff of air. Again, if you want to practice this, hold the palm of your hand up a few inches in front of your mouth and say English T, 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 and you'll feel the puff of air. Then learn to make it without the puff of air. Dal works the same way. And dal is going to look like this. He is going to come down from just about the halfway point of the line and then go straight like this. Remember, dal is a non-connecting letter, so he's not going to connect to the next letter, though he might connect to the previous one. I'll show you that in just a second. And here we have what's called an acute angle, less than 90 degrees here. This is important. We will show you in the next video. Dal sits on the line, and he's basically an acute angle in that he's less than 90 degrees. So because dal is a non-connecting letter, he's never going to be the first one or the middle one in a string of non-connecting letters. However, he can often be the last one, and all we're going to do is go up from the previous letter, go back down, and go across like this. There you go. There's dal. Nice and easy to draw. If he's by himself, we start from the top and make the same shape, an acute angle, two sides of a rounded triangle that sit on the line, like this. So this is the letter dal. He's easy to learn to draw. He's significantly bigger than the tooth of a ba, ta, or that. Look how much bigger that is. That's not the solo form. But that's what I want to point out, because a lot of people who haven't been totally properly taught, they will make all of these the same height. They want to make the letters the same height. So here's my ba, here's my ta, and here's my dal. And that's absolutely not the way you want to do it. If you want to do ba, and then ta, and then dal, you can see the considerable difference in height between them. And so this is not the right way to do it, and this is the right way to do it. So please keep that in mind so you learn good handwriting right from the start. So we have dal, and then we have his companion thal, which looks exactly like dal, except he has a dot on top. So super easy to learn to draw. I won't even draw it below. Thal is a non-connecting letter, just like dal, and it makes the voiced th sound. We earlier learned the letter tha, and tha is the unvoiced th sound. You're not vibrating your voice box. You're saying thick, thin, breath. And thal is his companion letter, and he is making the sound this, that, breathe. If you're a native speaker of English, you might not even realize there's actually two th sounds, but there are, and in Arabic we use separate letters for them. And this is the voiced sound, the. And a lot of times in English transliteration this will come up as dh, which does not mean designated hitter, it's just the. So thal is the name of this letter. So both of them are non-connecting letters. All we're going to do is put the dot on top of a dal to make a thal, so that's very easy to learn to do. So those are the two letters we're going to learn in this lesson, and now we're going to learn two other characters. The first one is called sukun, and sukun is a non-alphabetic character like fatha, dhamma, and kasra, and it indicates that there's no vowel sound between these letters. And he just looks like a little wee circle drawn above the line. In fact, I've probably drawn that one a little bigger than you would normally draw it. So what this means is that consonants blend together. And I will talk a little bit more about this when I give a bunch of examples. In English, only certain consonants are allowed to blend together. There's a whole set of complicated rules about them that if you're a native English speaker, you learned as a child without ever learning them as rules. But in Arabic, any two consonants can be put together, and this sometimes results in kind of weird sound combinations that are difficult to learn to pronounce, especially at first. So we know fatha and dhamma and kasra that make u, and I between two letters, and now we know sukun that means don't make any sound in between those two letters. So all four of these characters go together, short A, short U, short I, and no vowel sound at all. And now the final character we're going to learn in this lesson is called ta marbuta. Ta marbuta literally means tied up ta or bound ta. It's a non-alphabetic character, but it's sort of a letter in the alphabet because it's really a letter ta in disguise. And what it does is mark a word as grammatically feminine. Arabic is like Spanish and French. There's no it. There's only he or she. So everything is either masculine or feminine. And ta marbuta is what we put on the end of a word. It can only be the final letter in a word, in order to make it clear that this word is grammatically feminine, whether it represents a female person or a grammatically feminine object, like a bait, a house, is masculine, a bab, a door, is masculine, but a ghurfa, a room, happens to be feminine. Why? Don't even ask. There's no good reason for it. That's just how languages roll. So ta marbuta is usually drawn after a non-connecting letter. Remember, it can only be the last letter in a word, as a little wee egg with two dots on top. The two dots are because it's a ta, and ta has two dots on top. A lot of times, what it'll end up looking like is more of a loop like this. And this is a little more descriptive. It's as if you've taken the two crescents of the ta and you've bound them up together, which is where it gets its name, ta marbuta, tied up ta. So if it is the only character in a word, then, or if it's by itself rather, after a non-connecting letter, then usually most people will just make a wee egg and put two dots on it. However, you could also do it this way if you so chose. This is common also. And if it's the final character in a group of words, it's going to have a little bit of a different form. It's going to come up from the previous letter, go up most of the way to the halfway point, and make this kind of rounded loop and get the two dots on top. Sometimes if you're in a hurry, you'll make it more like a triangle and put the two dots on top. But since ta marbuta can only be the last letter in a word, you'll never see it as the first letter in a sequence. And if it's the middle letter in a sequence, because we're going to take a word that ends in ta marbuta and we're going to add a suffix to it, because Arabic loves suffixes, well then it just turns back into regular old ta. We unbind it by linking it to another letter. So it's just ta now and not ta marbuta anymore. So it's got to be the last letter in a word to take its regular form. If you add a suffix to a word that ends in ta marbuta, then it turns back into ta. So let me show you a bunch of examples of these, and you can see how it works. So let's talk about syllables. Look at all these words I've got here, and the best part is I have enough letters now that I can mostly make actual words out of them. So let's begin up here at the upper right. Here we have jim, dal, ya, dal, jadid, jadid. And jadid is a real word, and it means new, as in N-E-W, not K-N-E-W. So jadid means new. Learn this word. I can't give you the word for old yet because we only have one of the letters so far. And here we have tajdid. So tajdid is this word. Because it has sukun, that means that we don't make a vowel sound in between the jim and the dal here. We say tajdid, which means renewal. So tajdid, you can see the jim, dal, dal here is the root. And then we have judud. Judud, 2 short syllables. And this is new when it's a group of people, like new students or new professors. So judud. And now we have dal is a non-connecting letter, so we have to take our pen off the paper. And we have dajaj. Dajaj. And dajaj is one of my favorite words in Arabic. Dajaj means chicken. So you can go to Dajaj, Kentucky, or Dagag, Kentucky, if you're in Cairo, and go have some of that Kentucky chicken. So Dajaj is chicken. If I put ta marbulta on the end of it, notice that my final jim has to change form and become the first form, because now it's got a letter after it, and it comes after a non-connecting letter in alif. So Dajaja is how I pronounce this. So ta marbulta is usually pronounced as if it were a fatha. Now, sometimes it's going to get pronounced as if it were a regular old ta, and I will explain the rules for that later on. For now, a word that ends in ta marbulta is generally going to be pronounced as if it ended with fatha. So, dajaja. It would be hard to tell the difference between this word and if I wrote dajaj and put a fatha at the end. So if you're doing a dictation exercise, sometimes it's really easy to mistake a word that ends with ta marbulta that you hear with a word that ends in fatha. So usually when I'm doing dictation exercises with students in my classes, I make it clear that it's one way or another, or I just accept them both as equally valid because they do represent the sounds that the students heard me say. So dajaja is a chicken. Like dajaj is what you eat. Dajaja is the animal, a hen here. I can't give you the word for rooster because we don't have one of the letters for it yet. So dajaja is a chicken or a hen. But if it's my chicken, right, then I have to put the e suffix on the end to make it my chicken. I live in a high-rise condo. I can't have chickens, which is infinitely disappointing to me, but oh well. So what happens is I take ta marbulta, and now it's no longer the last letter in the word. So instead of saying dajaja or dajaja-e, I say dajaja-ti. And you hear the ta, and it gets spelled like a regular ta. So this is kind of confusing for you as a student. Wait a second, one letter transformed into another letter. Well, the reason is that this letter is really this letter in the first place, just tied up, and we're going to untie him to put a suffix on the end. You'll see tons and tons of examples on this, and you'll get it pretty much right away. It's not very difficult to learn. So over here, I have the word dhaba. So this is the sound in this and that and breathe. Dhaba. Yadhub. Yadhub. So this means it melted, and this means it melts. So yadhub. So here we have the sound, the thal sound, as opposed to the th sound. Same thing with your mouth, teeth, lips, and tongue, but you're not vibrating your voice box. So this is thaba, and this is dhaba, and this is yadhub, and this is yathub. So they sound really similar, especially in a microphone here, but they're not, because with thal you vibrate your voice box, and with tha you do not. Over here I have yadh, and then no vowel sound, and then bah, yadhbah, yadhbah, like that. So consonants that are double get stress, and consonants that have no vowel between them count as double. So yadhbah, yadhbah. Accent on the first syllable here, because sukoon, like long vowels, gives stress, because it makes the consonants double is what it's doing here. And then we get into this word dheb, dheb. And this is a tongue twister for English speakers in two different ways, because not only does it have the ha sound at the end of the word, which Americans typically don't want to pronounce, but it also has the consonant blend. So dheb, dheb, It's hard to learn to do, especially at first, because we just don't do it in English. But you can pick it up. Dhabh, by the way, is the proper way to slaughter an animal, because you need to know that. Here's the word jawda. Jawda. So ta marbuta gets pronounced like fatha. And because I have sukun atop the waw, that turns it into a w instead of an o. So jawda. Jawda. Jawda means goodness or talent. So if it's my talent, then it becomes jawdati. And ta marbuta, because it means tied up ta, transforms back into regular ta. Jawdati. Jawdati. Like that. All right, now I'm going to give you a whole string of words that come from the same root. They all have ba and then ha and then tha in common. Just like these words up here have jim and then dal and then dal. And these words over here have dal and then jim and then jim. So this is a super, super important part of Arabic. That words generally have 3-letter roots, and those 3-letter roots tell you the basic meaning, and then the vowels and other consonants we put around it give us the part of speech or syntax, what the word is. So all of these words have something in common, which happens to be looking for something. So ba and then ha and then tha together give us looking for something. So bath, learn to say ha in the middle of a word. Bath means research. You're in the library looking for something. Bahith, remember I've told you before, if we have alif in between the first 2 letters and kasra in between the last 2, that gives us the doer of that action. So bahith is a researcher. You can picture them with a white lab coat in the lab or in my office doing reading of ancient text. Now, if this person is a woman, we have to mark her as such. So she's not a bahith, she's a bahitha. In English, we would just use the word researcher to give you both of them, and we wouldn't necessarily care what gender that person is. But in Arabic, we do. We have to mark all words referring to people as masculine or feminine, and the way we do this is we take the masculine word bahith and we add ta marbuta to make it bahitha. So now it's a woman, and we have to do this. There's no way around it in Arabic. Just get used to everything being gendered. So this is a verb, yabhath. So again, sukun means no vowel sound in between them. Yabhath, yabhath. And this means he looks for or he searches for something. Now, if this researcher over here, this bahith, belongs to me, of course not in the actual sense of belonging, but I'm paying them to do something, then they become bahithi, bahithi. So the bahith, I add the suffix e to make it my researcher, so bahithi. But if this person is a woman, then I add the e suffix and I untie the ta marbuta and make it regular ta, and now it's bahithati. So one of the key features of learning basic reading comprehension in Arabic is to learn to recognize a word that you know that has had a suffix put on it, because Arabic loves suffixes, prefixes too. So here's ta marbuta turned back into regular old ta. So the root for this word is ba ha tha. This is the feminine marker. That's a suffix to make it feminine, and this is the suffix to make it mine. So watch out for this. And then finally we have the word bait, which I taught to you a couple of videos before. Bait means house. And this is how, by putting sukun over it, just like by putting sukun over wow makes it o instead of oo, putting sukun over ya makes it a instead of e. So this looks like beat, but it's not. It's bait. So bait is house, and then baiti is my house, which is where I'm going to head pretty soon after I do another video. But for now, I'm going to say ma salema.